All right. Get the giggles out first. Welcome to WTF Music Podcast, where we're going to discuss the music business and the state of music in the industry. I'm your host, Jason Gillespie, here at head of production for American Recording Studios in Memphis, Tennessee, which we're shooting the show today. Really excited to be shooting our pilot podcast. Main goal for the show is really, there's a lot of confusion and different, perspectives on what people should be doing, where we are in the state of the industry right now. And we hope to kind of bring some discussion to the light so that we can have different guests and different artists on other episodes to get everybody's perspective on what's working, what's not working, where can we go collectively as kind of a community of artists and professionals who in many ways are frankly getting the short end of the stick right now. And it's just like everything is built against the content creators. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of good things too, and we'll discuss those as well. But at first, really just kind of looking at things from our perspective as day-to-day professionals working in this crazy fucking business. Right. So today with me, Cass, if you want to introduce yourself.
Cass Jones. I'll be co-hosting the WTF podcast with Jason. And what?
Let's just say look at that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
It's episode 1. We're fucking airing it.
Yeah, we're getting it out. We're working out the quirks.
Back to one of the premises of the show, though, is it's going to be just a conversation.
Right.
It's going to be straight through. It'll last as long as it lasts. I expect it to be like a 45-minute podcast. But again, mistakes and all, it doesn't really matter right now because we're really just trying to get this conversation out there and have more people tune in and pay attention to what we're seeing, because there's some solutions, but it takes working as a collective,
right, and a community, and adding people in,
right. I mean, no one person is going to be able to do this on their own in this day and age, and if it looks like somebody did, it's just because you don't know the full story yet.
Right.
So, but again, Cass, you're from Memphis, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Born and raised, well, in Germantown suburbs, but yes, sir. I've been here since I was born and loved music ever since. Mm-hmm. And I always kind of knew that was my calling, and I wanted to be in that area of business. Learning about it more and more, there are definitely some things that hold me back from it, but yeah, I mean,
it's not an easy road.
That's for sure. And that's with any career choice.
It's true, but it seems like the music industry, or even take acting or movies and everything, none of it's as cut and dry as people seem to think.
No, and this day and age specifically with the internet and TikTok and all that, it does seem like it's evolving almost negatively.
Yeah,
the music industry.
I would definitely say that it's slipped backwards in a lot of ways.
I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, but before we jump too far ahead, a little bit more about you. I mean, like, what's some of your favorite genres, the music you listen to? What's hot to you, like, right now? Like, where's your head at?
I grew up listening to, like, pop punk and 90s rock, and that transitioned into, like, when I hit high school, I started experimenting with rap and making beats and stuff like that. So, right now, what's hot to me is I'm well versed in the underground hip-hop scene of America right now, and I know a lot about what's going on with that, and I've been trying to set foot a little bit more into the local scene, meet a couple local artists, people that are doing stuff that nobody else is doing. I really enjoyed doing that, and I'm trying to kind of find my footing on where I want to enter into the music industry and music scene with my own music, branch a little bit of all of that, get a little bit of the punk sound, get a little bit of the underground distorted bass and stuff like that. Yeah,
sure.
Playing around with it. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of cool to see some of these things these days. The way there's like mixed genres and different things like that. So, and one of the things, as a professional who works on some of this stuff all the time, you see like somebody will find this little cool combination of like, it's kind of this kind of feel, but it's got a little bit of a country twist,
Right.
and it's got this element, you know, and they'll find it and it'll be a hit.
Right.
But the problem becomes then suddenly you've got a slew of 100 other people trying to do almost the exact
same
thing.
Right.
And it's a problem. Like, I mean, I really view it as a problem, and it's the industry's own fault to a degree, because it's like, well, if you want to succeed, you got to catch that thing that's hot while it's hot. And, you know, but instead of really focusing on the music in a way that's more authentic, you know, it's chasing, you're chasing the curve, man.
And the cash
and
grab.
you never catch the curve if you
Right.
think that way. You're always going to be doing what somebody else came up with
You're
first.
setting yourself up to be a couple steps behind almost.
Yeah, I mean, you are. And it's not to say there's not room to appreciate and to even kind of be inspired by something you hear. Sure.
No,
I mean, I get it.
absolutely.
It's cool. And being inspired by things is wonderful. But it comes back to the music as an industry specifically losing this authenticity. And again, what's even, you know, so I'm 42 this year. So, you know, I get to kind of talk like I'm the old man, even though, you know, I don't feel that old. But it's changed so radically. Like, people don't appreciate things in music the way that they used to. And especially in regards to the artists themselves. You know, like, people used to really write, man, focused on, there was a much deeper message. You know what I mean?
Or
Like,
you had an idea or a thought or a melody for a song, and you built the song around that, and it seems like that's almost
even that is going away. And you'll
Yeah.
notice that the songs are getting shorter and
Right.
shorter and
Yeah.
shorter and shorter.
and not about shit.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. The content of it is diminished greatly. And did you ever see that movie Demolition Man?
No,
You know the one.
know.
You got to go back. It was Sylvester Stallone and Wesley
Okay.
Snipes, and I forget what happened exactly. It's been so long since I've seen it, but Sylvester Stallone's like from the past and ends up in the future.
Okay.
And, you know, confusion, gets like
Of
arrested or whatever. So the cops are driving, and one of the cops is like, "Oh, this is my favorite song." And turns out it's a fucking commercial. It's a 30-second jingle. This is my favorite song. And dude, this is like a 1990s movie. And I'm sitting there going, that's where music's
where we're
going
at.
right now.
That's where
It's
we're
getting
at.
shorter and shorter
And dumber.
simpler and simpler. And it's like, you know, do I want to go listen to Bach every single day?
No,
not necessarily, man. But like, there's something lasting about it.
Absolutely. Timeless.
It's complex, and there's movements, and this is so far back, man. Like, they didn't have any way of recording it other than writing the shit down.
Right.
And it's like, these guys had this complex score of information playing in their fucking brains, right? And nowadays we got, you know, I mean, not to call, I don't want to pick on anybody specifically, but some dumbass fucking songs, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just intentionally so. It's not like
Right.
they're dumb. I'm
They
not
found
calling them
out
dumb
what-
people. They're like, this stupid, simple thing,
It
everybody
sells.
gonna like it.
It sells.
And they're not wrong.
No, it's
But it doesn't make it good for the industry.
no.
It's
I
actually
agree.
making, and this is my argument with it, is an unhealthy environment.
And it's just harder to. It almost negates like caring and
Yeah.
putting hard work into your music. Like, somebody who puts less work and talks about the things that everybody talks about is going to get the notoriety that somebody that who really cares
boiled
about
down.
their
Yeah,
art.
it's boiled down to a gimmick.
Yes,
essentially,
absolutely.
Who's got another gimmick we can throw out?
Absolutely.
And it's like, again, the industry has honestly been limping since Napster, 1999, man. When
Right.
I was still in high school, that shit came out and it blew our minds. Everybody was burning mixed CDs.
I mean, it was free music.
Free music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we weren't thinking about the moral,
Or the-
like, is this right or wrong? We're
or
just
the
like, man, it's
decades
there.
after.
I love this
Yeah.
shit. And, you know, figuring out ways to find new music. It's like, that was way fucking easier than going to the store.
Right.
Why? Because I could hear it.
Yeah, immediately.
You know what I mean?
You didn't have to buy it.
You didn't have to buy it. And there was this. So I was in a weird generation where I could see all the benefits of the internet and digital music and what it could do and other stuff. But then I was one of the few ones back then, early on, when because Metallica was the first ones to flip the fuck out over this thing.
To stand up against it.
Well, and try and sue and,
wow.
shut out. They sued Napster. I mean, there was all this stuff, but they got a lot of shit at the time because people were acting, and this is the faulty narrative, I would say. People were acting like they were suing their fans.
Or that they were taken away from their fans.
Right.
When it's they had no
really what happened.
They
right?
had no choice over their music going on that website.
They had no say. There was no participation, and so in large part, I came pretty quickly early on to realize, this is actually theft. So I'm not going to do that. Right. But especially, at the time going to college, I'm wanting to go into this business. I'm like, you can't. That's,
you could see the negatives.
I could see the negatives. But so there were so many positives about it, being able to hear what you wanted before you got it, being able to preview things, and more importantly, being able to be your own DJ. Right. You know what I mean? Up until that point, and we had good radio stations back then. Now
for sure, but you had to have your records to DJ and stuff.
Right, yeah. So, and even then, you kind of trusted the DJs to let you know, hey, here's something cool that's new coming, and that's where you went. It's kind of trusted source for what was cool or what was good or information like that. And again, that's back to the show and kind of why we're doing this, is to kind of try and be one of those guys that if you like what we're talking about, if you appreciate, our opinions, then, keep coming back, because, we can get on that soapbox and preach all day. But it's really about having this sea of music on the internet. There's just unbelievable. I'd have to look it up again, how many it is, but unbelievable amount of songs being released every single day. And we all know that, the vast majority of it is not good quality.
Right.
That's not picking on anybody or anything at all. It's just the quality is not up to par. And I'm glad that there's outlets for people to be making that much music.
I agree.
That is cool.
I agree.
That's a good thing.
I agree.
But there's also no filters, and you kind of need filters. You need trusted filters. You don't want to comb the internet and take stuff out, in a sense, but you've got to have people or sources or places where it's okay, at least these guys think like I think, and they have a similar taste in music, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just something you can rely on, something you can trust. And, considering the day-to-day music business we do here and all the artists we know here in Memphis that are doing some amazing things, man, there's amazing talent out of Memphis. And I was telling somebody the other day, there's some of the players are in some of the biggest pop bands out there.
Absolutely.
And they're all Memphis players.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it.
Full band.
You wouldn't know it, but but man, that goes back to the historical significance of Memphis and the music as a business. Period.
Being an intern here, that's the first thing I noticed, is that when we get real players in, that's a day to just enjoy. Yeah,
sit back and enjoy it, man.
Right.
Yeah,
there's something special about that. Somebody that can get their full band together immediately, run through the whole set that they want to do. And especially when you see some of these players that come in and literally have never heard the song before, and they're just
charting it out real quick, and then 9 times out of 10 they go out there and it's first take, second take, take your pick.
It's gold.
Take your pick. And all these guys are out there and they're playing shows, they're playing gigs, they're even backing up some of the biggest pop stars in the world, and it's just crazy that from my perspective, at least, that Memphis doesn't get more credit than it does. And you could argue that in multiple different genres. Easy.
Absolutely.
But let's see. Just kind of moving forward. So one of the things we wanted to get to, kind kind of each week, at least the beginning of the podcast, we'll kind of do like little controversies, like what's going on in the business that's causing a storm, and is it even really worth talking about? Because sometimes it's just a load of bullshit, and how many people truly care about celebrity drama? But some of it is relevant, and some of it is definitely impacts the state of the business and how people are getting paid and what's been going on.
Especially when there's billionaires involved. I'm sure that
happens. It happens. So, but kind of bringing this up to one of the, celebrity news things that's worth at least discussing is that situation that's going on with Puffy and Universal Music Group, and you got Lucian Grange and everything else that's been happening. And there's a lot of mixed information. There's a lot of facts, though, too, about, what was going on at these crazy fucking parties and what was happening in the background that nobody knows about. And it truly comes across, and from things that I've at least seen and kept tracked on, that, it's as bad as you think.
Right.
It's as bad as you think it is.
I mean, we can want certain people to not be guilty or to be guilty, but at a certain point, you have a certain number of allegations, you have a certain number of people talking about you. It's hard not to believe that, at least when it comes to Puff Daddy, about what's going on with him.
Well, and in a bigger sense, it's almost more telling who isn't saying anything. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, how am I right now through all this stuff, and you can read the news, you can even go pull up and read some of the actual lawsuit and allegations and things that are going on, and all of that's there. But if these people were true and honest, and they didn't do any of these horrible things that have been talked about, their true friends would be speaking up for them right now.
Right. And
come hell or high water.
Them,
Come hell or high water. They would say something. They would be like, this is absolutely bullshit, and I'm going to die on that hill because I don't believe they did it.
Right.
But the silence from everybody in the industry, that is what speaks to me the most volumes, because it's like, nah, man, you don't have anybody that believes in you enough right now to step up and say publicly that, nah, he didn't do it. Not one. Not one. Nobody's about to do that.
With the case for Jay-Z, it's a little different, but for Diddy, no.
Well, it is definitely now unredacted that it was his name. It's been his name since the beginning.
Absolutely. So, and I'm not advocating or siding with Jay-Z. This is all.
No. Yeah. Well, and again, we don't necessarily have enough information to draw specific conclusions. But what was going on in the background is people were getting seriously fucking harmed.
Right.
In
scenarios that just don't make sense as a whole. The to kind of dig into the Jay-Z situation that just came out. It was backstage at a VMA party, and the suspected victim was 13 years old.
Yeah, well, from what I heard, it was at the VMA after party, which was actually hosted at Diddy's spot.
Yes. Okay. So that makes a little bit more sense.
That's what I read.
What doesn't make sense to me is why a 13-year-old male or female is at the VMAs. Backstage
well,
at the VMAs.
There is video, at the VMAs. Right. Like, there there.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm
there's a lot of validity to it. But
no, absolutely.
Most people hear this kind of shit, and they're like, no way, because the very concept that somebody would hurt a kid like that is kind of beyond. I can't even fathom.
It's baffling.
I don't want to believe that somebody would do that shit. But we know that some of this shit is absolutely fucking happening.
Right.
You look at the what's the two actors? They were in the Goonies. Corey Feldman and Corey Haim.
Yes.
That whole story. Right. And dude, there's a pedophilia problem in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, you can't deny it at this point, because you go ahead and you turn over and you look at what happened at Nickelodeon. I mean, there's too many fucking incidents at this point.
Right.
That you can't just say, nah, I mean, there's no way.
It's just, it's hard not for your mind to go to like giant crime, pedophilia, sex ring.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for your brain
it's hard
not to go
to
there
wrap around it.
when there's so many different.
But for somebody like me, that like I have kids, so this whole topic scares the fuck out of me,
Absolutely.
right? Like, I've heard for years now how the missing children cases,
Right.
the numbers are astronomical, man. Where the fuck are they going? I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands.
Right. And never to be heard
from again. Like, that's
terrifying.
In this day and age, with technology, facial recognition,
right.
Everything else, cameras on damn near every light. You can't tell me AI now helping out too.
Right.
You can't tell me you couldn't find one of 500,000 missing kids somewhere in America.
Right.
Unless they're just completely out of the country now, or not alive, or not trying to find some of them. I mean, I saw this one thing the other. I guess it was earlier today or last night. But man, like, somebody had pulled over a Coca-Cola truck. But it was like not a legit one, you know what I mean? It was like
there were some
an
things
old
going
one
on with it.
It was like an old one, like it even looked older.
Looked out of place.
Looked like an older Coca-Cola truck, like the old logo and
like
stuff
like
on
18-wheeler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was a truck full of kids.
I mean, yeah, that's just outrageous.
I mean, so something is fucked. And something weird is happening. And unfortunately, the music business and the entertainment business in general is somehow caught up in this shit.
Yeah, and it just seems like this shouldn't be possible unless somebody is allowing it. Higher up.
In this day and age, with technology how it is, and cameras and everything else that you see, yeah, there's no way somebody's getting their palms greased on the way to this fucking shit show. And it's scary. And it bothers me that so much of this has happened in the music business in particular. You know what I mean? Because, like, we're in this business, but we're making music. We're working with artists. We work with labels. Yeah, and I mean, but I've never run into this directly. And it was really funny. One of my mentors, who is from LA, had said a long time ago to me, he's like, man, you are just kind of on your own little island here in Memphis as far as the industry goes. In a weird way it is, you know, but it turns out that kind of was a blessing.
Right.
There's a lot of shady fucking shit, man. And it seems like once you climb past a certain point,
there's no avoiding it.
You're going to get your hands dirty some way.
Right.
Some weird way. Not necessarily that it's this bad or whatever it may be like that, but I mean, you end up compromising something. And it's
you
like
almost have to.
And
with these major label deals, I mean, we all know how deals work, essentially, where you're getting money to fund your album.
But it's not really free money.
No,
that's the thing.
It's not.
It's money you owe back.
And
they're going to make that money off of you.
Your mind goes to crazy places when you think of what happens if you don't make that money back, or how much. I mean, they essentially own you.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a binding contract.
Right.
That is the truth. So I mean, but it's not. If you sign a deal, you took the deal.
Right.
You know,
that's
why you need an attorney, an actual music business attorney who knows their shit, who is on your team.
Right.
You need that. You need to pay attention and don't just take anything that comes your way. Sometimes it's better to just say no. As hard as that can be.
Absolutely.
It's a hard thing to do, especially, man, younger in life. You're like, you know, because you're just hungry for it, and you want it, and you want to taste that success, and you want to see what that's like, and you're hungry for it. And then, you know, there'll be times in life, and I don't care if it's the music business or any business, but there'll be times in life where somebody's asking, well, how bad do you want it?
Right.
And you better know where that moral line is.
Yes, you
before they ask you in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, where is that line in the sand for you? And what do you absolutely like? Do you want it? Because you know how people want it more than anything in the world. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
You don't want to give up everything you have.
Yeah. No, and there's a line.
Absolutely.
But if you go into it with that mentality, and a lot of times, you know, it's been kind of glamorized to have that mentality is I'm going to get it no matter what.
Absolutely.
No matter what I got to do. But no matter what's a big, bold fucking statement.
Yes, it is.
And it's not honest either.
No, it's not.
So you're deceiving yourself. You need to know your own grounds, your own lines, and how are you going to build this as a business? And that's, you know, kind of back to, you know, the state of it is for artists that are up and coming or artists that are working, like, you know, what's one of the biggest clearly defined measures of success for you?
Right.
And I mentioned that one because I already know mine, and it was always to be able to do this full time, have a family, take care of my family, provide for my family, and not have to go take some sort of day job or something. It was to be able to do this every day. And that was real success to me, and it still is. But it wasn't like the only success, you know what I mean?
No, for sure.
You know,
for sure.
Grammy nomination comes along. That's a pretty big fucking one.
Absolutely.
You know, you're like, holy shit. But I didn't plan for that one. I didn't plan for like a big one-hit wonder thing. And that's because that mentality is playing the lotto. If you want to build it in the business, you want to make something out of music that you create and you make, you got to build it one brick at a time.
Right, with achievable goals first.
Achievable goals, and then expand on it and grow.
Absolutely.
And eventually get to this point where you have a core fan base of whatever it is that you're doing that will constantly come back.
Right.
You know what I mean? You need recurring clients. You need recurring audience. It really does nobody any good to have one song suddenly just blow up on YouTube and then, you know, overdone with gone.
Yeah. I mean, like we said earlier, somebody's going to copy off of it. So you either have to be ready to drop
constantly
after you drop your viral hit, and keep that momentum going, or essentially somebody's going to bite your flow and take what you started on and
run with it in a different direction usually.
Right, and not the direction you saw for yourself or you saw for your art. Nobody is going to take it the way that you want for yourself.
And you kind of have to be able to break it down to, this is what I'm good at. This is what feels right. This is kind of my passion purpose, right? Then you turn from that and you say, okay, what ways can I use that to make a business out of it so that my passion can continuously fund everything I'm trying to do. And a lot of people, I think, and this is back to the songs getting shorter and shorter, and this, everybody wants to cut corners. Everybody wants to skip to the end where they've got the money, they got the success. They just want to skip to that part. But there's something, and again, being the old man mentality right now, there's something you have to do is appreciate the journey of it.
That is... Yeah.
Even when it's shitty, man.
No,
even when it's not fun.
That's the character building. That's where you find out who you want to be after, or like once the real work starts, who do you want to be during that? How do you want to carry yourself?
Right.
And there was something you said, sometimes it's easier to just say no when you're handed an opportunity that maybe morally doesn't sit with yourself or something like that.
I mean, maybe it's the better choice. I don't know if it's easier necessarily, but ultimately,
easier choice is probably saying yes. But
the more tempting choice for sure.
Right, the one that involves more hard work and doing it. I mean, we see a lot of artists trying to make it independent, and they hit a certain point, and that's kind of where they're going to be. Yeah. Very rarely do we see people that are superstars independently. So it is. It's kind of, if you take that independent route, you're kind of allowing yourself to stop at a certain point, to not really reach.
I would argue that there is a lot more success going on in the mid-level of music right now than people are aware of. Again, another reason to be talking about stuff like on this podcast. I was telling another client the other day, like, I don't care about or want personally, like, 10 million recurring listeners on Spotify. I don't care. It's monopoly money. I mean, what they're paying is bullshit. So, okay, great. You got a month or even say a whole year's worth of 10 million people listening to your Spotify playlist or whatever it is, your record. I would rather have, personally, man, give me 100,000 people that'll buy anything I make, anything I put out. And you can have real success real quick.
Absolutely.
Real quick. Better success. 10 million.
It's a real fan base.
It's a real fan base, but that takes personal connection and actually, getting to know people and allowing people to get to know you as an artist. Not just
through the music and stuff like that. Yeah.
Not just the music, but more a deeper connection to the music through you as the artist and as this person who's doing this passion.
If you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, if you're an artist, people are, and you have built the 100,000 people fan base, like, people are listening to you because of what you do, what you provide to them that they can't get anywhere else. How you're going to differ, or not differ, but the different options that you can do when it comes to not just the music to allow people to know you is, that's a huge part of the music industry today.
Certainly.
Just, like you said, how cheap people are getting paid for streams and stuff like that. You have to have
it's highway
outlets.
Robbery what's happening right now.
Outlets.
People keep, and this is one you've heard me say, but I'm going to say it again for the podcast, but people keep saying that the music industry is $1 billion industry, and it is not. Advertising music is $1 billion industry.
Right.
Selling music is not what it was. You can barely sell it.
Yeah.
You can place it, you can get it in TV shows and movies, and that's still a great way to make good recurring residual income.
Absolutely.
Which is fantastic for people when they get it. When your song fits in a movie or a scene, man, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
That opportunity. If it fits with what your idea of the song is.
I mean, I'm just even talking about from a business head. I mean, placing a song, and you're going to get paid residuals, and if the movie's a big hit, like even more, like it's just smart business. But you can't sell just the music right now, and it's a big industry problem because. Again, back to like what I was saying about Napster, there's all these reasons I understand and appreciate why digital is so good for the end user, but we've lost a lot of things involved with new music coming out. Anticipation itself is basically gone, right? You used to line up at a record store, literally before the doors open, tons of people, everybody waiting in line to get a copy, right? Even forgetting that as as a necessity, the idea of having this one place you go to get trusted music, that like the things on the shelves in here are good.
Yeah.
You may not like all of it, but it's good.
And
good
you're waiting
quality.
outside in a line with the community that also has the same interests as you.
Well, and there was just a deeper connection to the music because you weren't just listening.
Yeah,
there was every
money.
sense about it was involved. I mean, like from walking into the store, looking through the shelves, whether it was CD or vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was touch. There was the search itself.
It's physical.
And then the art that drew your eye.
Right.
Like, should I go listen to this? I don't know. I don't like the way that fucking looks.
You're right.
I mean, this kind of dumb shit would go through your brain. And sometimes, I missed out on records because I was like, I don't know what that fucking cover's about, man. Fuck that. Yeah. But there was an experience about it. There's an experience about discovering music and finding it. And again, like you would get it, and then the next thing I always remember was opening it because there was this new smell
to
have
record.
Whether it was CD or vinyl didn't matter, but especially with vinyl, I'll never forget that as a kid. And you open that vinyl up and you smell it. It's just new print, the ink, and then you've got the art in your hands, and you're looking and you're touching,
unfolding.
It's all your senses were involved in it, and the biggest negative with digital delivery of music that I would say 99% of the consumers aren't actually aware of this problem, but they're missing out on all their other senses. All they're doing is hitting play and hearing it.
That is a great take that I don't hear enough. Yeah.
I firmly believe at this point that it will take some new type of physical medium to come out of some kind that's actually worth it. Like it's gonna have to be kind of alter the game to a degree. It
absolutely will. I mean,
but you need that physical medium.
I agree.
Before things change in a positive direction like that. But anyways, kind of speaking on new music, you had some stuff you wanted to bring up about Drake, right?
Yes. Well, not quite new music quite yet, but Drake has been quite a hot topic. He
it was Kendrick's new album we were going to talk about.
Yes, Kendrick dropped an album, and previously to him dropping the album, he dropped his single Not Like Us, which was involved in a giant rap beef between him and Drake. And Drake is now currently... He hasn't filed an actual... Okay, so he's filed a legal petition accusing Universal Music Group, which is his controller, and Kendrick's, of inflating artificially Not Like Us to make it seem bigger than it was, to make it seem more popular, possibly to bot the streams. There's a bunch of stuff going on, but he's basically claiming defamation, that this makes him look bad, and that there's wrongdoings. I mean, the biggest part of the song was calling him a pedophile almost, and saying that,
calling Drake one.
Yeah, saying that he likes minors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he's filing for defamation against his own label.
It's under the same label.
They both are. They both are. So that's the most interesting thing about it.
Well, in a weird kind of thing, the reason he may have standing, or at least because it just happened, is another, like Trump just won that fucking lawsuit with ABC and Stephanopoulos, because Stephanopoulos kept calling him a convicted rapist, and that's not what the charge was at all.
So he
just got paid a $15 million payout from ABC, and they're going to have to issue some apology. So Drake doing this, makes sense. You can't call somebody a rapist, and you can't call somebody a pedophile without documented case, actual proof. Otherwise, it does fall under defamation, which is just crazy.
So he's also he's taking legal action against Universal Music Group, as well as Spotify and Apple Music.
Wonder why them specifically. I get the label because putting it out, but aren't the other guys just kind of middlemen?
Right. And I actually talked to my friend who's going through law school right now about this last night, and he said he cannot get anything from Spotify or Apple Music for defamation because they're a middleman, and defamation doesn't exist to middlemen.
No, they as a businesses didn't do anything wrong.
Right. No,
they facilitated a release.
Unless they orchestrated and facilitated fake streams, I don't think he really has a case there against the streaming services.
Right.
I think it's wild that he's going after his own label, essentially, that he's in a multi-million-dollar deal with.
Right, but if he wins, he not only is going to take money from them, he can also walk away from them and own his own shit.
Right.
He wins, he's going to win all in. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I understand why he's doing it.
No, yes, absolutely.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It's just crazy, though.
Yes, and I don't know. In my opinion, it's some sore loser stuff. In my opinion, it's a rap beef. You were going back and forth with this guy.
Yeah, but when you have people like Puffy getting put in prison right now
for things like that,
covering
your tracks is not too bad.
It's not the 90s where you guys are just blowing off steam on the mic at each other. Now, people are getting lawsuits and arrests. It's a little more serious to make that kind of specific with what else is coming out and what else is going on.
That's not a bad point. That's not a bad point.
Just my 2 cents. But yeah, I wouldn't pussyfoot around either. If I knew for a fact that's bullshit, I would make sure everybody knows.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like, I'm going to put my money on the table right now and say, fuck you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like, you can't do that. So,
right.
Too many people going down for shady shit involving that to not, you know what I mean?
Well, speaking of that and keeping it with Drake, 2 days ago, there was an update in the XXXTentacion murder.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What came out about that?
Drake was mentioned in court.
Oh.
Drake was mentioned in court.
Does it say?
So, I watched a video on it with the attorney that is, I may be getting this wrong, but I believe he was, what's the word? For when an attorney is, he's representing one of the alleged shooters.
Oh, okay. So the defendants?
Yes.
Defense attorney?
The defendant. Yeah. Yes. The defense attorney is representing one of the shooters.
Yeah.
And the shooter claims that he didn't specifically claim that Drake said anything to initiate this shootout or anything, but he mentioned him in a kind of like beating around the bush way.
Okay.
Because his name has been brought up before in this in conspiracy with this murder.
Interesting.
The defense attorney had a problem when he was stricken down for bringing up any information around Drake.
Mm-hmm.
He was stricken down by the court because it was stricken down saying it wasn't useful, it wasn't important, and
not relevant to the case according to the court.
According to the court, but the prosecutors had proved that Drake was in South Beach at the time of the murder. There's a bunch of different weird things about relating to Drake. Mm-hmm. I believe X went on Instagram Live probably, I don't know if I can find the exact video, but I know it was within 48 hours of before he was murdered. And he said, if I get murdered, it's Champagne Poppy. If they kill me, it's which is Drake's Instagram name.
Yeah.
So he's been a name that's been around for this and around this murder for a while.
Sure.
I don't know that anything will come out about it, but
it's interesting that they mentioned his name openly in court
and
again.
It was interesting that they shut the defense attorney
But again,
down.
Not that I can give legal advice, but
no.
I mean, it's all circumstantial right now.
Right.
So, I mean, you have to kind of let those things play out.
There is no evidence against him, but yes, I just... he was the name that was brought up when that whole debacle went down in, I believe, 2019.
Yeah,
and
that sounds right.
To see him coming back into it in the courtroom
5 years later.
I mean,
it's
it was very interesting.
It's worth keeping track of for sure. And then, did you have any of the notes on any of the Grammy noms or any of that?
I did. I pulled up the list right here. We can go over like record of the year, album of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to do very many. Just curious.
There are some interesting things about record of the year.
Yeah.
Now and Then by the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
The first listed one. Then we got Texas Hold'em by Beyonce off of her new record from this year.
Yeah.
We got Sabrina Carpenter with her single Espresso that was number one for many weeks. 360 by Charlie XCX. Birds of a Feather, Billie Eilish. Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar, Good Luck Babe, Chaperone, and Fortnite, Taylor Swift and Post Malone.
Yeah.
We could do predictions if you want. I
mean, at this point, it's just curious to see where it goes. I mean too much of it.
The Beatles one is the most interesting thing.
Yeah, because it's showing up this year is cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I'll be honest, it's like the rest of I just don't care.
Yeah. no,
it's
I
like,
agree.
oh gosh.
I agree. If I would like to see Charlie XCX win. She had a great year.
Yeah.
She had a great album this year. It was hugely popular. Somehow made it into the election and all that. So
yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was super
well, there's that too.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Yeah. Album of the year. We actually have New Blue Sun, Andre 3000, his critically acclaimed flute album.
Which, dude is amazing. I don't care what kind of music he's making. Yeah, doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Does not matter.
I'd love to see it win. I highly doubt they will give it to an all-instrumental record, but I'd love to see it. And then we got Cowboy Carter, Beyonce, Short and Sweet, Sabrina Carpenter, Brat, Charlie XCX. Did Jesse Volume 4, Jacob Collier. Okay. Hit Me Hard and Soft, Billie Eilish. The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, Chaperone, and the Tortured Poets Department, Taylor Swift.
Yeah. It's all the stereotypical ones you'd expect, but, like...
Minus a real rap album. Like, they usually... I mean, the last couple of years, they've been throwing rap albums into Album of the Year, and, I mean...
It's just not there right now.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, hip-hop, although there's some great music still coming out, obviously, it's... I don't want to say it's fading, but it's not capturing the audience like it used to.
Rap music?
Yeah, just in general.
It isn't. Yeah, no, it's not as a whole.
Not as a whole. Yeah, big picture. There's obviously huge records
everywhere. Like
obviously,
Rolling Loud was
obviously.
Just
but there's a feel of like it's like I don't know. I mean, what was it? Was it this year or was it the year before? There was one point where like the top 5 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 were all country songs.
Right.
And it's like the gears are shifting in some ways, So, and you never really know. Like we used to, at least when I was in college for the music business, they talked about it as a 10-year cycle. And you had the 60s, you had the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, right. The 80s, the 90s. And there was these 10-year cycles of where, something would come out that would radically shift the industry. But it doesn't feel like it's changed as much. Like from 2000 to 2010, it's like it's still kind of pop music that's there. Even your rap was kind of also pop to a degree. Like what was hot in 2000, what was hot was all the boy bands.
Right.
And then you had
evolved into like radio pop club banger hits.
Except it was rap. It's still but it's still we've been stuck in this pop game for a minute.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Agree with that.
Like even though, and I'm not talking pop like we would have popular music in the, all the way up until the year 2000. Popular music was pop because it was good, not its own genre.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of became this genre where it's this pop style.
It absolutely did.
And was this downhill slope. And I feel like a lot of these things are just kind of chasing their own tails. It's
agree.
It's another
and same chord progressions.
Another record by some of the same people. And it's just, it feels kind of stuck. And that's one of the reasons why I said it felt like hip hop as a whole is not doing what it was before. Because I feel like too many people are not being authentic and they're just chasing that sound.
Absolutely.
So even when it is hot and something pops off, it's like, it still kind of sounds similar, to what we just had. Right. And then the other big problem factor with it too that's playing into it is like, nobody can name what was hot 3 years ago.
That is a great point.
You know what I mean? Like what was in the top 10 at this time 3 years ago? Everybody's going to have to go look it up.
That's a massive point that I think is completely overlooked right now. It's
become less memorable because too many people are doing the same things or chasing trends. Right. They're not inventing. And this problem, again, comes about because of the business, the state of the business, and in the fact that you don't have labels offering deals to develop artists anymore. They don't want to invest. They just want a sure thing. It's back to my statement earlier, just that everybody just wants to skip to the end.
Right.
Like all the money, all the good stuff, all this other thing, and nobody wants to put in the actual work. But you get something of substance when you put in the effort, when you put in the investment, and when you really take time with people to try and see this diamond in the rough and bring it to light because you believe that it could be something so much more than what it is when you first found it.
We really don't see that a lot anymore.
It's not happening at all. I mean, if you've got anybody in investing, it's like private. You know what I mean? It's not done in the business sector like it used to be. And, you know, because of that, it's causing all these problems with artists having to take shortcuts. And, I'm falling off. I need to do something viral.
Exactly, to get back on the horse.
Brings me back to one of the Grammy noms you mentioned, and kind of one of the other topics we're going to talk about is Sabrina Carpenter. Like, she did this thing, and we talked about it, but like, you know, the sex act with the microphone, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's going all crazy on, at least in the, you know, the news people of it, the people reporting on it, like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I'm looking at this going, do you guys, like, I mean, am I the only one that thinks this is cheap?
Or corny.
Cheap, corny parlor trick?
Yeah.
Because I need a viral clip. Somebody pay attention to me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like, man, I would highly encourage new and up and coming artists, like, don't do that.
No,
that's
I agree.
the easy way out. Oh, I'm going to do this dumb thing on video.
Right.
To get a bunch of views. And what do those views really get me?
Other than keeping my name in the headlines.
Just keeping
my song.
And there is some truth that there is no bad press, right? It's all, if you got the press talking about you, good. Generally. Unless you're Puffy. You know what I'm saying?
You are Puff
like,
Daddy
there's a line.
in
It goes back to that line, man. Like, I mean, there's a line. But generally, all press is good press, right? But, I mean, it's doing something this stupid, and, you know, and I'm not picking on her as a person. I'm just like, because I feel like this thing was something that was also encouraged.
Right.
Like, this was a pre-planned, like, we want you to do this thing. It's going to get all this press. We're going to make sure we're filming you.
Right.
Like, I can almost hear the conversations they had.
I don't know if she's a Disney Channel kid or something.
I think so. I don't remember for sure.
It might be
but
Disney Plus now. Like, she might have started on that. But I know that she's been in Hollywood for a very long time. So something like this.
She was on some TV show. I don't remember which one. But it is. And it feels like that it's pushed that way. And it's back to that sexualization of, you know, kids, and just even, I don't care how, I don't even know how old she is, 20s, early 20s, who cares? Like, you don't need to be doing that.
I agree.
For what's clearly a viral moment. There's only one reason to do that. There was not some expression of woman's sexuality or women power, anything like that, because what was the act itself? Know what I'm saying? Like, that's pretty degrading. I don't care who you are.
I agree.
You know, but that's not the mentality you should take trying to get yourself out there, or trying to get yourself from this plateau in the business to the next one. It's like chasing some viral moment. I mean, if you're smart about it, sure. But that means you've planned, you've done a lot of thought, you put a lot of work into this thing that you generate for a viral thing.
That's exactly what I was
different.
Thinking. That's
but
like Odd Future, early days of Odd Future, when they were blowing up on the internet. Those were skits and ideas that had thought, and yes, they were dumb and they were maybe even a little offensive and stuff like that. But I
got no problem with any of that.
Right.
Like, I grew up on South Park, man. You cannot offend my generation.
Right.
Like, you can't do it, and that shit's funny. And when done well,
they cared. Yeah, it showed that they cared.
Yeah, but it takes so much effort.
On stage does not show that she cares.
That was exactly. I mean, and again, outside of that, you know, like, is there no moral qualm there for her as a successful female artist who's inspiring younger people who might want to do things like her, who might want to be...
hope there is a moral qualm, but we're making people famous like the Hawk Tuah girl, so...
That shit was funny, though, bro. I don't care. I mean, it's going to be here today, gone tomorrow, but that shit was funny. That video was funny as fuck. I don't care. You know, I'm not going to go back and actually listen to any of your stuff. I don't care. You know, like, I'm not invested in it.
Talk to a podcast.
But when it's funny, man, you know? So I appreciate those kinds of moments. And it doesn't need to, like you said, it doesn't have to be smart, quote unquote. Right. It can be this dumb moment. Those are hilarious.
Right.
This can be absolutely fucking funny. But to me, this particular one felt cheap. And that's the best word I can put on it. I saw that pop up, and I swiped away out of it. Like, I was mentally cringing.
Right.
I was embarrassed for her when I saw that. And I'm like, how many other people felt that way? Was I the only one?
Not enough.
No, I think a lot more than you would hear talk about it.
That is how I felt as well.
It's like,
why?
Man, why? Yeah, I mean, and like, one point on that, like, sex sells. I get it, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
But being sexy, like, mystery is sexy, right? And this is why women wear fancy dresses or have lingerie or whatever it may be. It's this mystique about the whole thing. Doing an act like that is just flagrant. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a big difference.
It's a step past
if you want to look at past artists, go back through history and look at past artists, whether it was all the way back with Madonna or whoever who was pushing the line, pushing the limits. Like when that Like a Virgin video came out, it was very controversial.
Absolutely.
But you can still go back and watch it now and be like, that's an impressive fucking music video.
Right. There was thought put into it.
It's so much thought and so much
and yes,
effort.
There's thought to put sex into it for sure.
Yeah.
With the song.
Of course. Yeah.
But it's how you do it.
It's how you do it.
Tastefulness.
There is a line of where this was tastefully planned.
Right.
And, this is just easy.
I don't think anybody would disagree that this was just.
It was just a cheap shot.
Yeah.
Cheap shot, man. Right. Cheap shot to get a viral tag.
Right.
And this is more for like the up and coming artists, I guess. At this point, people who are in their deals and have their deals. I mean, I don't know their business. I don't know whose idea it was.
Right.
I think it was a dumb idea.
Right.
I just think it was stupid, and it shouldn't have happened.
It didn't make her look smarter or better
or good or anything about it. And if anything, it takes away in a way from whatever authenticity about the music there was going on. So, another thing, just tying this back into the business of it, though, is like, if you're an artist, say you're in that kind of similar situation, you've got to really stop and think for a second, who has your best interest at heart right now?
Right.
You know what I mean? If you ever get in a weird situation where it's like they want you to do something that you don't feel comfortable doing, and it could be far more simplistic than this. I mean, like any number of things that can come up. It's just like, man, that's just kind of weird. I don't feel right doing that. You need to be able to say no, but in a way that's like constructive, right? Like if you're really trying
to get blackballed,
and there's also you can't just be a hard no asshole anytime I didn't you didn't think of that, and that's why you don't want to do it. It's not about that. It's more about like, is this in your best interest? Does it work for everybody? And you got to at least take a time out long enough to think about it in a business sense. Like, okay, is this ultimately, could it benefit me in my career and everything I'm trying to accomplish? If the answer is yes, okay, well, am I hurting anything else? Am I crossing any of these lines that I don't want to cross? And you really have to think about that and learn to say no in a way where you can continue a relationship. There's ways to tell people no, and then there's just saying fuck you. Yeah. And you never know who you're actually talking to in this business. And that's one of those things I've really come to notice and appreciate.
That's another great point, yeah.
Because there are so many people that have worked on some major, big projects and things, and you don't know their name because they're hardly listed, or they're barely listed, or they didn't want to be out in front on the name of it all. But they were heavily involved in this stuff, and they were working in this business, and they brought up big artists, and there's things, and you're not going to know who they are. So you got to check your tone anytime you go into a situation, and you're like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But how do I talk with these? How maybe I can swindle a different deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's where I would encourage people take your brain first. Well, if I'm not willing to do that, before I tell them that, am I able to do something else?
Am I able
Is
to
there
turn
a way to turn this into a positive?
Yeah.
And you just have to make sure that you're defining your own lines again. Like, there's just that moral compass is so important. And, again, it's not even as grandiose as, like, a puffy party, I mean, it can be basic shit where it's like, I don't want to do that because
I don't want to wear this on stage tonight.
It could be outfit related, or it could be like, a better example to me is thinking about your inner circle of people, right? Like, are you going to have to do something that's actually going to hurt your friend? You know what I'm saying? And that could have nothing like true, not a true moral conflict, but like that is a moral conflict, to a degree, but not, you know what I meant? Not like legal and illegal.
No, for sure.
It's still the same conflict, but understanding those kind of lines and working with people and trying to figure out ways that benefit everybody involved, but keeping yourself true to yourself. I mean, this is important, and we're not going to end up getting better music until we actually encourage that kind of mentality about it. So, but also it comes back to knowing your audience, like knowing who your people are.
Who will it work for?
Right.
And I mean, also, like, we're talking about this, like, it's cheap and it's out of the way, and it's could be defamatory towards her in a long run. Probably won't be. Probably will just be a viral moment.
This day and age, it's going to blow over so fast.
Right.
But I thought it was worth noting.
No, absolutely. No, I'm not.
Topic of conversation.
I'm just saying. I mean, if Sexy Red was doing this, like, we wouldn't bat an eye, because that's in her music. That is what she's selling. It also has to do with what the content is that you're selling. Like, Sabrina Carpenter is marketed towards teenage girls.
Yeah, like, there's no getting around that.
There's no need to do what you're doing and do that on stage if you're marketed towards teenage girls.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
I mean, it's just like, there's classy and there's classless, you know, and that was kind of a classless move, Right. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want my kids watching that.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't blame you.
That's kind of weird.
I don't blame you.
It's kind of weird to see such a young kid performer, still a kid in my mind,
and
doing that, and you're sitting there going, I know some creepy old dude was behind this.
Right.
I know that. Like, I mean, no, there's no way that it was a creepy old woman behind that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. It was a creepy old dude. I don't know how.
Suggested that.
Even if somebody else thinks it's their idea, some creepy old dude planted that somehow.
Probably so.
And made that happen.
And it's also like,
I'm not cool with it.
No, and you would put on Sabrina Carpenter prior to this event. You would put on her for your kids, maybe.
I wouldn't have worried about it.
Right. But
now I'm wondering about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I'm like, well, maybe not.
You're not going to put that on for your
fuck
kids.
no. Yeah, it's like letting WAP.
What you're getting into.
Letting WAP play. No. Skip. Alexa, stop.
You know what you're getting into there. Now with Sabrina Carpenter, do you know?
Or do you know? Or what's the next one going to talk about?
Right.
Now you got to worry about what's coming out on her next record. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I trust that anymore. Right. And it's just one of those things that came across how it came across, and I think it's important for, the audience and younger artists to really listen to that and take into their own brain, like, but plan for success. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So knowing your own brain, what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do before you even get there.
Right.
So kind of moving on from that, we'll kind of wrap up. A few things though, but did you have some of the local Memphis stuff? Like, what's happening?
Some stuff that was going on.
I was down sick for a week, so we're a little behind as far as what the.
We just had a Janae Aiko show here at the Forum.
Yeah.
She brought out Big Sean for the last couple songs.
Nice.
That was cool. I had some friends there.
Cool.
I'm trying to think of who else. There were some good ones. Kraftwerk. I don't know if you're familiar. Kraftwerk.
Mm-hmm.
They're like a I believe 4 or 5 person like kind of experimental electronic group. They're coming to the Shell. That should be an amazing show for anybody that's interested in that. I'm gonna definitely try
when
to
is
get
that?
tickets.
Do you remember?
Let me tell you.
The Levitt Shell is one of, speaking of venues in town, it's such a cool one being outside like it is.
Yeah.
It's just an awesome spot.
Yeah, it is.
And the acoustics, they actually work incredibly well.
Surprisingly. March 25th, they will be here. So a little bit later into the year. Local Memphis concerts. Sorry, I had it on my phone. I didn't pull it up on my laptop.
No, that's all good. And again, we're behind a week from everything I wrote down.
Right.
Because I ended up sick, and now it's like, well.
But this week, this Wednesday, Ben Folds will be at Minglewood Hall.
Oh, fun.
He's a good show. He's a good show. Bone Thugs and Harmony will be at Minglewood on January 4th.
Oh, right on.
That'll be super cool.
Yeah, that will be good. Those guys are so good, man.
A little bit later, Mary J. Blige will be at the FedEx Forum the 2nd of February. Yeah, that's really...
As far as the big touring acts,
those
that's
are
the main things coming up, for sure.
Big stuff going on. There's a bunch of little, like smaller rap groups rap acts come in. Destroy Lonely will be here January 11th. He's one of the underground runners right now who's kind of moving stuff for the underground music scene. Cash Doll, she's a I believe an Atlanta rapper. Hope I'm not getting that wrong. She will be at Minglewood Hall as well, February 20th. And that is about it for local stuff going on.
It'll be out after the first of the year before we really see things popping back up and kicking off. So.
Oh, this is a cool one. Bright Eyes will be here on March 17th.
All right.
At Minglewood Hall.
That'll be a good show.
Right.
I like Minglewood, man.
Yeah, it's a
good venue.
Yeah, and the city has really been bringing it back.
Yeah.
They've booked a bunch of like comedy guys, like big comedy guys, which is good. Like I know Mark Norman was there last year.
Right on.
So yeah, Minglewood, because it was kind of dead for a while. When I was in high school and stuff, 15 to 18 range, it was dead. There were no big concerts.
And it was brand new when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it was hot. It was awesome.
Yeah.
There were some great shows in there, for sure. So glad to hear it's picking back up.
It definitely is.
There'll be some more going on.
Yeah, like I'm excited for the rap groups that are going to be here. Definitely going to go and try and see that. And I know a bunch of people my age will be too. And yeah, the fact that they've got like some older stuff going on, I mean, that's really cool. It looks like Dweezil Zappa will be there.
Oh, nice.
January 18th.
Dweezil, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a name I hadn't heard in a while.
Yeah, that's a funny little name. But yeah, I mean, I love Minglewood. I really want to start throwing shows at Lamplighter more because I love the people over there, and they've been doing they've had some cool little events coming in and out. Like I think the first, I want to say it's Monday or Wednesday of every month, they do like an open mic night for comedy.
Oh, cool.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Lamplighter. Yeah, Minglewood, like I said, it's been doing really good. A lot of stuff going on at the Orpheum that's like...
yeah, I knew there was some really cool stuff happening there, especially this time of the year.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to get...
Alison Krauss is going
on. Yeah, of course. I'm going to get caught back up on some of the local stuff by episode 2. But,
yeah.
Again... just kind of going to put a wrap up on it at this point. But for everybody listening, thank you so much for checking out episode 1 of WTF Music Podcast. Next episode, I'm not quite sure who I'm bringing in yet, but it might end up being Scott Bartlett from Saving Abel. We got a few other different artists we're excited to bring in, and we'll drop some more names when that comes around.
Right.
But again, thank you so much for listening, and tell a friend.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.